What would you do if your past suddenly resurfaced and threatened your perfect life? This haunting question lingered in the air like a summer storm, heavy with anticipation and uncertainty. Sarah, a devoted housewife in her early 30s, stood in her well-appointed kitchen, the comforting aroma of fresh coffee intertwining with the sweet scent of cinnamon from the batch of muffins she had just pulled from the oven. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over her meticulously arranged home, where every detail seemed like a page from a lifestyle magazine. This was the life she had always dreamed of, filled with laughter, love, and the promise of a bright future. Yet beneath this seemingly idyllic surface, a buried secret lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The kitchen was alive with the sounds of her children, Emma and Jake, playing in the adjacent living room. Their giggles echoed through the open space, a symphony of innocence that brought a smile to Sarah's face. Mark, her husband, was in the backyard, preparing for a weekend barbecue with neighbors. The sounds of sizzling meat and casual chatter drifted in through the screen door, a reminder of the life they had built together. Yet, as Sarah stirred the muffin batter, her mind drifted to a different time, a different version of herself, a version she had long buried. It was an ordinary Saturday morning when it all began. Sarah had been sorting through a box of wedding memorabilia, a task she had postponed for far too long. As she rummaged through the contents, dried flowers from her bouquet, heartfelt notes from friends, and photographs capturing the magic of that day, her fingers brushed against something unfamiliar. Intrigued, she pulled out an old, weathered envelope, its edges frayed and yellowed with age. The sight of it sent a shiver down her spine, and her heart raced as she recognized her own handwriting on the front. The envelope contained memories she thought she had left behind, pieces of a life she had tried to forget. The moment she opened the envelope, a wave of emotions flooded over her. Inside lay a collection of letters, their ink faded but the words still resonating with the echoes of her past. Each letter was a reminder of choices made, of friendships that had shaped her, and of moments that had defined her before she donned the title of wife and mother. The memories came rushing back, vivid and unyielding. A whirlwind of joy, heartbreak, and the inevitable mistakes that had paved the way to the present. Sarah's heart sank as she read through the letters, each one pulling her deeper into the labyrinth of her past. The first letter was from an old friend, Jessica, whose name brought a smile to Sarah's face. They had shared countless adventures, late-night talks, and dreams of the future. But as she continued reading, the tone shifted. Jessica's words turned somber, filled with concern for the choices Sarah had made. Choices that had led her away from that vibrant girl she once was. The weight of the past pressed heavily on her chest, and she couldn't shake the feeling of dread that accompanied each recollection. As Sarah sat there, surrounded by the remnants of her former life, she felt a familiar pang of guilt. It was a feeling she had buried deep, under layers of motherhood and domestic bliss. She had worked so hard to create the perfect family, to be the perfect wife for Mark, and now, this envelope threatened to unravel everything she had built. The fear of discovery gnawed at her, a relentless reminder that her past was not as far behind her as she had hoped. In the days that followed, Sarah found herself increasingly distracted. The letters haunted her thoughts, an ever-present reminder of the life she had chosen to leave behind. She went through the motions of her daily routine, but her mind drifted to the envelope, hidden away in the depths of her closet. The tension between her desire to protect her family and the fear of revealing her past grew with each passing moment. She felt like a tightrope walker, balancing precariously between two worlds, one where she was the devoted mother and wife, and another where her past lingered like a ghost. Mark, ever perceptive, began to notice the change in her demeanor. He would catch her staring off into the distance, lost in thought, or fidgeting with her wedding ring during dinner. The warmth of their connection felt strained, as if an invisible wall had risen between them. Mark's concern was palpable, and he often asked if everything was all right, if there was something bothering her. Each time, Sarah would smile and brush it off, not wanting to burden him with the weight of her hidden turmoil. After all, she didn't want to be the reason for any cracks in their seemingly perfect life. Her friends, too, began to sense something was off. During their weekly coffee dates, Sarah would force laughter, but the sparkle in her eyes was dimmed. Jessica, who had always been her confidant, had moved away, leaving a void that felt insurmountable. The connection with her other friends felt shallow, as they chatted about school events and weekend plans, unaware of the internal battle raging within her. Sarah longed to confide in someone, to share the burden of her secret, yet the fear of judgment held her back. The thought of losing the life she had carefully constructed was too much to bear. Then came the day when everything changed. It was a typical Wednesday afternoon, and Sarah was in the living room, preparing for the arrival of friends for a casual get-together. The house was filled with the scent of her famous chocolate chip cookies, and the children were happily playing in the backyard. As she arranged the cushions on the sofa, her heart raced when she heard Mark's voice calling from the bedroom. "Hey, Sarah, can you come here for a second?" Anxiety coursed through her veins as she made her way down the hallway, each step heavy with the weight of the envelope hidden in her closet. Mark was sitting on the edge of their bed, a concerned look on his face. In his hand, he held the very envelope that had been the source of her turmoil. "I found this while cleaning up," he said softly, his voice tinged with confusion. "What is this?" In that moment, time seemed to stand still. Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach, and she felt the world around her blur. The envelope, the very symbol of her hidden past, was now in Mark's hands, and she realized that there was no escaping the truth any longer. The walls she had built around her past were crumbling, and the fear of exposure loomed large. She could either confront the truth or watch as her carefully constructed world began to unravel. "Mark, she began, her voice trembling with uncertainty. But the words wouldn't come. The fear of losing everything she had worked for surged within her, battling against the need for honesty in their relationship. The tension between them crackled like electricity, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt utterly lost. How could she explain the contents of the envelope when she herself was still trying to make sense of it all? Mark's brow furrowed as he opened the envelope, pulling out the letters one by one. Sarah's heart raced as he read through them, the silence of the room stretching on as he absorbed the weight of her past. She could see the emotions flicker across his face: confusion, hurt, and a deep sense of betrayal. Each word was like a dagger, piercing through the fragile facade of their life together. "Why didn't you tell me?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The hurt in his eyes cut deeper than any accusation. Sarah felt the tears welling up, threatening to spill over as she struggled to find her voice. She had wanted to protect him, to shield their family from the shadows of her past, yet here they were, facing the very thing she had tried so hard to bury. "I was scared," she admitted, her voice cracking. "I thought I could leave it all behind and create a new life with you. I didn't want my past to ruin what we have." The vulnerability of her confession lay bare before them, and she could see the weight of her choices settle heavily between them. As Mark processed her words, Sarah felt a wave of emotions crash over her: fear, shame, and a flicker of hope. This was the moment of truth, the moment they would either break apart or forge a deeper connection through honesty. Would they be able to navigate this turbulent sea together, or had her secret been too great a burden to bear? The tension hung thick in the air, each heartbeat echoing the uncertainty that enveloped them. Sarah could only hope that this vulnerability would lead them to a place of understanding and healing. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would test their love in ways they had never imagined. As they sat in silence, the envelope between them, Sarah knew the next steps would be crucial. The path ahead was fraught with challenges, but perhaps, just perhaps, it would also lead to a deeper intimacy, a chance to confront the shadows of the past and emerge stronger together. The question remained: could they navigate the storm, or would the tides of history pull them under? As Sarah sat in the heavy silence that enveloped their living room, her mind raced with thoughts and emotions. The envelope lay like an anchor between her and Mark, its presence a constant reminder of the secrets she had tucked away, hoping they would never resurface. She could see the confusion in Mark's eyes as he stared at the envelope, his brow furrowed with concern. It was a look she had seen countless times, but this time it felt different, more intense, more probing. Sarah took a deep breath, the air thick with unspoken words. "Mark, She started, but the words caught in her throat. How could she explain the weight of her past? Each moment felt like a lifetime, each second stretching as she wrestled with her fears. Mark shifted in his seat, leaning forward, his eyes never leaving hers. "What's in there, Sarah? Is it something that could change everything?" His voice was steady, but she could hear the tremor of worry beneath the surface. It pained her to see him like this, and yet she felt paralyzed, caught between the desire to protect him and the need for honesty. With the envelope still in view, she glanced at their wedding photos displayed proudly on the mantel. They were a testament to their love, a love built on trust and shared dreams. But now, the memories felt tainted by the shadow of her secret. Each smile captured in those frames seemed to mock her with the untruth she had been living. "I never wanted to keep anything from you," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I was scared. Scared of what you would think. Scared of how it would change us." Her heart raced as she spoke, the truth bubbling just beneath the surface, ready to spill over. Mark's expression softened, but the tension still lingered. "Sarah, we've been through so much together. Whatever it is, we can handle it. You don't have to face this alone." His words were a lifeline, a reminder of their bond, but the fear of what lay ahead was suffocating. She closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her courage. "Before we met, I had a different life. I was someone else entirely." The admission hung in the air, heavy with implications. "I made choices that I thought I could leave behind. Choices that I thought wouldn't affect us. But they did. This envelope. It contains pieces of that life." Mark's eyes widened slightly, curiosity mixed with concern. "What kind of choices?" "Sarah, you can tell me." The warmth of his voice wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, yet it only intensified her internal struggle. Could she really share the truth? The memories flooded back, days filled with uncertainty, nights spent in places she would rather forget. The thought of Mark judging her for those decisions was terrifying, but deep down, she knew she owed him more than silence. "I had a past relationship. It was complicated, and it ended badly. I thought I'd moved on completely, but sometimes the past has a way of creeping back in," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "The envelope. It has letters and photographs, things I thought I'd left behind." Mark remained silent, absorbing her words as if they were heavy stones dropped into a still pond, sending ripples of emotion that threatened to consume them both. "Why now?" he finally asked, his voice low and steady. "Why did this come up now? I found it while I was cleaning. I thought I had thrown everything away, but it was hidden among our wedding photos. I didn't even realize it was there," Sarah explained, her heart racing as she relived that moment of discovery. "Seeing it made me realize how much I had buried. It's like a part of me wants to forget, but another part, it screams to be acknowledged." The room felt charged with tension, and Sarah could feel the weight of Mark's scrutiny. She hated the idea of him seeing her as anything less than the devoted wife and mother he believed her to be. "I didn't want to hurt you, Mark. I didn't want you to see me differently." "Sarah, I need to understand," Mark said, his voice calm yet insistent. "I love you, but this is a part of your life. Hiding it won't make it go away." His words struck a chord, and she realized he was right. Hiding the truth was only going to create a chasm between them, one that could deepen if she didn't confront it head-on. "I know," she whispered, tears pooling in her eyes. "I'm just so scared of how you'll react." Silence enveloped them again as the reality of the situation sank in. The envelope sat between them like a ticking clock, each second echoing the urgency of their conversation. Sarah felt a swell of emotions, fear, anxiety, but also an underlying sense of relief. Perhaps it was time to finally unburden herself, to share not just her past, but the person she had become because of it. "Mark, I want to tell you everything," she said, her voice firm now, bolstered by a newfound resolve. "I want you to know who I really am, even the parts that I'm ashamed of." With that, she took the envelope, her hands trembling slightly as she picked it up. The weight of it felt both heavy and liberating. "This contains letters from him." It was a relationship that spiraled out of control, one that I ended to protect myself. I thought I had buried it for good, but seeing this reminded me that I can't simply erase my past. Mark leaned back, his expression a mix of concern and understanding. "You don't have to justify your past to me. I just want you to be honest. I want to know the woman I married, the woman I love." His words were a balm to her frayed nerves. "I was young and naive. I thought I could handle it, but I got caught up in something I didn't fully understand. When it ended, I promised myself I would never look back. But now," she hesitated, the vulnerability of her confession hanging in the air, "I realize that part of me still exists. I can't pretend it doesn't." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she opened the envelope, pulling out the contents one by one. As she unfolded the first letter, memories flooded back, moments of joy, heartbreak, and regret. "This was from him," she said, her voice breaking. "It's a letter where he professed his love, but there was also fear, a fear of what we were becoming." Mark listened intently, his gaze unwavering as she continued to share. Each letter, each photograph, revealed a glimpse into a life that felt both foreign and familiar. As she spoke, the gravity of her past unfolded between them, revealing not only her struggles, but also the strength she had found in moving forward. "I thought I had closed that chapter for good," she said, wiping away her tears. "But now, I'm realizing that there's still so much to process. I need to acknowledge it, not just for me, but for us." The tension in the room began to shift, morphing from fear into understanding. Mark reached out, taking her hand gently in his. "You're not that person anymore, Sarah. You've grown. You've changed. I see that every day in how you love our family. This doesn't define you," he reassured her, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "Thank you for understanding," she replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. In that moment, she felt a sense of connection igniting between them, a bond forged in honesty and vulnerability. "I want us to be able to talk about anything, even the hard stuff." Mark nodded, his eyes reflecting the depth of his emotions. "We can do that. But you have to promise me, no more secrets. We'll face everything together." As they sat there, hands intertwined, Sarah felt the weight of her past begin to lift. Yes, there would be challenges ahead, but this was a new beginning for them, one built on transparency and trust. The path would not be easy, but she was determined to walk it with Mark by her side, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. "Let's take this one step at a time," he said, a reassuring smile breaking through the tension. "We'll face it together." Sarah nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. The envelope, once a symbol of her hidden past, now represented the possibility of healing and growth. With Mark's support, she felt ready to embrace the journey ahead, no longer defined by the shadows of her past, but empowered by the love they had built together. As they continued to talk, sharing their fears and hopes, Sarah realized that confronting her past did not mean she had to carry it alone. With each word, each shared moment, they were building a stronger foundation for their future. A future where honesty reigned and love flourished, even amidst the complexities of life. The atmosphere in the living room was thick with an unspoken tension, a palpable weight pressing down on Sarah and Mark as they sat across from one another. The envelope lay between them, a stark reminder of the past that had momentarily resurfaced to threaten the stability of their present. Sarah could feel her heart racing, each beat echoing the uncertainty that filled the room. She glanced up at Mark, whose expression was a mixture of concern and confusion. a mirror of her own emotional turmoil. "Sarah," Mark began, his voice steady yet laced with apprehension. "What is in that envelope? You need to tell me what's going on." The earnestness in his tone struck a chord within her, igniting a flicker of hope amid her anxiety. Perhaps this was the moment she had feared but also longed for, a chance to finally unburden herself. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt as though the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. She could see the love in Mark's eyes, and it gave her the courage to speak. It's about my past, Mark. Things I've never shared with you." The words felt heavy on her tongue, but there was a newfound clarity in her mind. The secret she had guarded so fiercely for years was no longer a source of shame. It was a part of her story that needed to be told. Mark leaned in, his brows furrowing as he absorbed her words. "What kind of things? Is it something I should be worried about?" His question hung in the air, a challenge that demanded honesty. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, preparing herself to open up about the life she had left behind. "I had a life before you," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I had dreams, aspirations, and mistakes. I was not the person I am now. I made choices that I thought I could leave behind, but I see now that they've followed me." She paused, searching for the right words to convey the complexity of her emotions. Mark's face softened, yet the concern remained. "What do you mean? What kind of mistakes?" His inquiry was gentle, but Sarah could sense the urgency lacing his tone. He needed to understand, and she was ready to share, even if it terrified her. "Before we met, I was in a different world. I was lost, struggling to find my way. I got involved with the wrong people, made poor choices, and got caught up in situations I never imagined I would be in." Sarah's voice caught in her throat, memories flooding back unbidden. She recalled the nights spent at parties filled with laughter, but also the darker moments, the fear, the loneliness, and the desperate longing for a way out. "I thought I was escaping it all when I moved here, when I married you," she continued, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But I see now that I didn't really escape. I buried it. And when I found this envelope among our wedding photos, it felt like a ghost from my past was reaching out, reminding me that I can't truly move forward without confronting it." Mark's expression shifted as he processed her words. "What was in the envelope?" he asked softly, his demeanor turning more supportive and less accusatory. Sarah hesitated, the fear of judgment creeping back in. It contained old letters, notes from people I knew back then. They reminded me of the life I tried so hard to forget. Friends who were more like family, but also people who led me down the wrong path. As she spoke, Sarah could feel the tension in Mark's body begin to ease ever so slightly. She sensed that he was trying to understand, to grasp the complexities of her past without rushing to conclusions. "I never wanted to burden you with this, Mark. I wanted to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother. But I see now that hiding this part of me is not the answer." Mark reached across the table, taking her hands in his. "I wish you had told me sooner, but I'm glad you're sharing this with me now." His voice was steady, filled with compassion. "We can work through this together. But you have to let me in, Sarah. I need to know everything." The sincerity in his eyes melted away the last of Sarah's defenses. She took another deep breath, feeling the warmth of his hands enveloping hers, a reminder that they were partners in this journey, come what may. "I was involved in some risky behaviors, Mark. I even had a relationship with someone who wasn't good for me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I was in love, but it was all a facade." Mark's grip tightened slightly, not out of anger, but perhaps in disbelief. "Did this person hurt you?" he asked, his concern evident. "No," Sarah replied, shaking her head. "But they kept me in a cycle of chaos. I ended that relationship when I realized how toxic it was. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life. I thought leaving it all behind would be enough. But I see now that I need to confront it, to own it." As Sarah poured her heart out, She could feel the tension between them beginning to dissolve. They were no longer just husband and wife. They were two people navigating the complexities of life together. She realized that Mark's love was unwavering, even in the face of her past mistakes. "Thank you for trusting me with this," Mark said, his voice steady. "I can't pretend to understand everything you went through, but I want to be here for you, to support you in whatever way you need." Sarah felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. "I don't expect you to understand completely. I've carried this burden alone for so long. It feels good to finally let it out." Mark nodded, his eyes locking onto hers, filled with sincerity. "But you have to promise me something. No more secrets. We're in this together, right?" His statement resonated deeply within Sarah. She felt a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face it with Mark by her side. "Yes, no more secrets," she agreed, her voice gaining strength. "I want to be honest with you, no matter how difficult it is." In that moment, they forged a new understanding, a pact that would guide them through the challenges ahead. As Sarah looked at Mark, she saw not just her husband, but a partner willing to walk alongside her, no matter the shadows that loomed. "Can we talk about it more?" Mark asked, his tone gentle. "I want to understand how this has affected you, how you've felt all these years." Sarah nodded, appreciating his willingness to engage in this difficult conversation. "I've always felt like I had to hide that part of my life, to present a perfect version of myself. But it's exhausting, and I don't want to do that anymore." With each word, Sarah felt lighter, as if layers of weight were being peeled away. She could see Mark's genuine concern and support, and it filled her with a sense of safety she hadn't realized she craved. "Let's take our time," Mark suggested, squeezing her hands reassuringly. "We don't have to rush through this. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I want us to be stronger together." As they continued to talk, sharing their fears and hopes, Sarah realized that confronting her past did not mean she had to carry it alone. With each word, each shared moment, they were building a stronger foundation for their future, a future where honesty reigned and love flourished, even amidst the complexities of life. Hours slipped by as they navigated this emotional landscape together. Mark listened intently as Sarah recounted her experiences, her voice steadying as she delved deeper into her past. She spoke of the choices she had made, the friendships that had formed and faded, and the lessons learned through hardship. "Every mistake shaped me into who I am today," she said, her voice full of conviction. "I can't change the past, but I can learn from it and grow." Mark nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I admire your strength, Sarah. It takes a lot of courage to face your past and share it with someone." As the conversation continued, they began to discuss how her experiences might influence their family dynamics. Sarah expressed her fears about how her past could affect her children, her desire to shield them from any potential fallout. "I want them to have a better life than I did," she confessed, her voice tinged with emotion. "I want them to know they can be open with us, no matter what." Mark wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "And that starts with us being open with each other. We'll create a safe space for them, where they can come to us without fear of judgment." Sarah felt a surge of warmth at Mark's words. She realized that this was more than just about her past. It was about building a future rooted in honesty and trust. With every shared vulnerability, they were forging a bond stronger than anything she could have imagined. As the evening progressed, they began to share laughter amidst the seriousness of their conversation. They reminisced about their early days together, the little moments that had shaped their love story. The memories served as a reminder of their journey and the love that had carried them through challenges before. "I remember when you tried to bake me a cake for my birthday," Mark chuckled, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. "Let's just say it wasn't your finest culinary moment." Sarah laughed, the sound ringing clear and bright. "I was so determined to impress you. I thought I could whip up something special, but it turned into a complete disaster." Mark grinned, his eyes sparkling with affection. "And yet, I loved it. Because it was you, trying so hard to do something sweet for me." In that moment, Sarah realized that their love had always been built on acceptance and understanding. They had weathered storms together, and now they were ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the night drew to a close, Sarah felt a renewed sense of hope. The envelope that had once represented her hidden past now stood as a testament to her journey toward healing and growth. With Mark's unwavering love and support, she was ready to embrace her future unburdened by secrets, ready to foster a home where honesty flourished. "Thank you for being here with me," Sarah whispered, her eyes shining with emotion. Mark smiled warmly, brushing a stray hair from her face. "Always, Sarah. We're in this together." As they settled into the quiet of their home, Sarah knew that the path ahead would not be without challenges. But for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of peace. They would face their journey together, hand in hand, and build a life defined by love, trust, and the courage to confront the past. As the days passed, Sarah found herself reflecting on the conversation she and Mark had shared. The weight of the secret she had kept for so long had lifted, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. The air felt lighter in their home, and she could sense a shift in the dynamic between them. Gone were the days of unspoken tension, replaced now by an openness that had been missing for years. Despite the initial shock that had coursed through Mark when he discovered the envelope, he had approached the situation with grace and understanding. Sarah had expected anger or betrayal, but instead, she was met with compassion. It was a testament to their love and commitment to one another. As they navigated the aftermath of the revelation, Sarah learned that honesty, even when it feels frightening, can lead to deeper connections. One afternoon, while preparing lunch, Sarah noticed Mark sitting in the living room, engrossed in a book. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow around him. He looked up and smiled, a gesture that filled her heart with warmth. She joined him on the couch, feeling the comfort of being close to him. "Hey," he said, setting the book aside. "How are you feeling today?" "Better, actually," Sarah replied, her voice soft. "I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about. I know it's going to take time, but I feel like we're in a better place now." Mark nodded, his expression serious yet gentle. "I want you to know that I'm here for you, Sarah. Whatever you need, I'm willing to work through it together. Your past doesn't define you. It's a part of who you are, but it doesn't change the love I have for you." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, and for the first time in years, she felt seen and understood. They spent the afternoon discussing everything, from her past to their future, sharing dreams and fears that had been concealed. Each conversation brought them closer. Each layer peeled away, revealing more of who they were. That evening, they invited friends over for dinner. The laughter and chatter filled their home, and Sarah realized how much she had missed this sense of community. They shared stories, reminisced about old times, and celebrated the small joys of life. She felt a newfound confidence, buoyed by the support of her friends and the love of her husband. As the night wore on, Sarah found herself in a conversation with her best friend, Lily. The two women had been through thick and thin together, and Sarah had always admired Lily's strength. "Sarah, you've always been the one who held everything together," Lily said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. "But it's okay to let people in. You don't have to carry all the weight alone." "I know, and I'm learning that now," Sarah admitted, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I was so afraid of what people would think of me if they knew the truth. But keeping it inside only made me feel more isolated." Lily reached for her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "You're not alone. We all have parts of our lives we might hide, but that doesn't make us any less worthy of love and friendship. You're incredible, Sarah, and don't ever forget that." That conversation lingered in Sarah's mind long after the evening had ended. She realized that vulnerability was not a weakness. It was a path to deeper relationships. By allowing others to see her truth, she was not only freeing herself, but also inviting them to share their own stories and authentic selves. Days turned into weeks, and Sarah continued to embrace her healing journey. She took time for herself, exploring new hobbies and interests that ignited her passion. She enrolled in a pottery class, something she had always wanted to try but had set aside in her busy life. As she molded the clay, she found solace in the creative process, a therapeutic escape from the chaos of daily life. Mark was supportive of her new endeavor, often attending her classes to cheer her on. One evening, he surprised her with a beautifully crafted mug that he had made himself during one of the sessions. His hands were covered in clay, but his eyes sparkled with pride. "I know it's not perfect, but I thought you could use a reminder of how beautiful it is to create something from nothing," he said, handing her the mug. Tears welled in her eyes as she accepted the gift, touched by his thoughtfulness. "It's perfect, Mark. Thank you for believing in me." Their bond grew stronger with every shared moment, and Sarah reveled in the joy of their relationship. She also began to open up to her children about the importance of honesty, sharing age-appropriate stories that illustrated the value of being true to oneself. One night, as they sat together at the dinner table, Sarah decided to share a story from her childhood, a tale of how she had once been afraid to admit her fears, but found courage through honesty. The kids listened intently, their eyes wide with curiosity. "Mommy, it's brave of you to tell us that," her daughter Emily said, her voice filled with admiration. "I want to be brave like you." "You already are, sweetheart," Sarah replied, beaming with pride. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you choose to face your fears anyway." In the following weeks, Sarah and Mark took the time to strengthen their communication. They set aside a special date night each week, creating a routine that allowed them to focus on each other without distractions. They would share their thoughts, their dreams, and their fears, fostering an environment where vulnerability was welcomed. One evening, as they strolled through their neighborhood hand in hand, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink as the sun dipped below the horizon. "Do you remember the first time we walked this route together?" Mark asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Sarah chuckled, recalling how nervous she had been on their first date. "I was so worried about making a good impression. I wore those ridiculous heels." Mark laughed, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "And I tripped over my own feet trying to impress you. But it was worth it, wasn't it?" "It absolutely was," Sarah replied, her heart swelling with affection. "I'm so grateful for everything we've been through together. Even the tough moments. They've brought us to where we are now." As they reached their home, Mark pulled her close, looking deeply into her eyes. "I love you, Sarah. I love the woman you are, and I love the journey we're on together. Your past is a part of you, but it doesn't define our future." She smiled, feeling the warmth of his words wrap around her. "I love you too, Mark. I'm ready to embrace whatever comes our way, together." Their journey was far from over, but Sarah knew that with each passing day, they were building a stronger foundation. They were learning to trust one another fully, to embrace vulnerability, and to celebrate the beauty of their imperfections. As the weeks turned into months, Sarah found herself reflecting on the envelope that had started this entire journey. What once felt like a burden had transformed into a catalyst for growth. She began to see it not as a symbol of her past mistakes, but as a reminder of the strength that lay within her. One quiet evening, she decided to take the envelope and place it in a special box, a keepsake of her journey. It would serve as a reminder of the lessons learned, the love shared, and the courage it took to face her truth. With Mark by her side, she was ready to embrace the future with open arms. Life was no longer about hiding behind a facade. It was about living authentically, celebrating the journey, and cherishing the bonds forged through honesty. The next morning, as she prepared breakfast, Sarah felt a sense of peace enveloping her. Their kitchen buzzed with the sounds of her children chatting and laughter filling the air. She realized that the love they shared was the strongest foundation she could have ever hoped for. As the day unfolded, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. She began volunteering at a local community center, sharing her experiences with other women and encouraging them to embrace their own stories. The connections she formed there were profound, and she found joy in empowering others to face their fears and live authentically. Mark stood by her side, always supporting her endeavors. Together, they attended workshops, shared their experiences, and fostered a community of love and acceptance. They embraced the beauty of their imperfections, their journey, and the family they were building together. As Sarah looked back on her past, she realized it was just one chapter in her life, a chapter that had shaped her but did not define her. She felt grateful for the love that surrounded her, the lessons learned, and the bonds that had only grown stronger through adversity. In the quiet moments, she would often reflect on the strength it took to confront her past and how it had ultimately led her to a brighter future. Life was a tapestry woven from different threads, some dark, some light, but all contributing to the vibrant picture of who she was becoming. As she tucked her children into bed one night, Sarah felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. She kissed each of them goodnight, whispering words of love and encouragement. As she closed the door to their room, she knew that she was not just building a life for herself, but for them as well. A life rooted in honesty, love, and the courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead. With Mark by her side, she felt invincible, ready to take on the world, one day at a time. And as she drifted off to sleep that night, she knew that the journey was far from over. It was just the beginning of a beautiful story. A story filled with love, resilience, and the unwavering strength of a family united by truth. In the end, Sarah had discovered that her past didn't have to remain hidden. It could coexist with her present and future, shaping her into the person she was always meant to be. And with that realization, her heart swelled with hope, knowing that together they could weather any storm and emerge stronger on the other side. As she closed her eyes, Sarah whispered a silent promise to herself: to live fully, love deeply, and embrace every moment with gratitude. Because at the heart of it all, she had learned that life is a beautiful journey, and it's in the journey that we find our true selves.